Football! Namco right here, Dustin over here. Heading into week 4, which means bye weeks, so we got a little tip for you with that. But before we get into it though, FanDuel, FST 2014, use that promo code sign up. We're not kidding when we say that we're hooked on these things. They're a lot of fun. I do like 10 or 15 a week. Mike does like 40. I don't even know how he gets in as many of those leagues. But they're a lot of fun. We're winning a little bit of money, having a good time in there. Use the code.
Yep, gotta love it. And you can go on the site. Lincoln does an article with some values, so that certainly helps out. Start with the values, then you plug in some studs. Before we get into this week, got a quick tip for you. Bye weeks are coming up, so obviously you want to manage throughout your own roster to see when you're going to have issues and how you're going to counteract it so it doesn't sneak up on you like week 6 all of a sudden you got 10 guys on a bye. But if you want to get a trade done, it's great to look at other teams' rosters, see where they're going to have bye week issues, and then do a trade based on that where you win just a little bit, but in a little note, type a little something on how this is going to help them on X bye week when they have issues. They look ahead, they thank you for solving their problem, and they hit accept, and you win slightly, and that's all that you want to do in a trade. You just win by a little bit.
And that's one of the biggest things that people neglect to do when doing trades, is it has to make sense for their team as well as your team. That's the biggest thing there to take away from that as well. Is it's just, you got to look at their team just as much as your team if you're going to get a trade done. All right, let's get into those forum questions. First one comes from Tags82. Which receiver? We got Vincent Jackson at Pittsburgh, Kelvin Benjamin at Baltimore, Jordan Matthews at San Francisco, coming off the big week.
Yeah, Matthews I like, but he's out. He's not even playing in 3 wide receiver sets. Maybe that happens, but for that reason you can't start him. You know, I should be saying Vincent Jackson, but I can't do it. I'm going with Benjamin here. He is the most targeted receiver on Carolina, most targeted player, period, on Carolina. He's a big target, he's got short hands. He could have had 2 touchdowns last week. I absolutely love this. Love the rookie. I think he's going to have a monster campaign. And the Tampa Bay offense just doesn't look good at all. I'm going with Benjamin. All right, Dustin Yar wants to know. He's only got 4 bench spots, so he's prefacing with that because, you know, it's about to be crazy. Wants to know, should it be dropping your boy Patterson for our boy Benjamin?
Tough one. I'm such a big fan of Cordero Patterson. You know, before the show I said that I think that you should do it, but now I'm second guessing myself as I think about it a little bit more.
Well, coin flip it sounds like.
Just because the Teddy Bridgewater, I want to see one game with Teddy.
True.
I want to see one game with Teddy before I'm giving up on Patterson because that guy is a stud. And defenses are only having to focus on him right now. They stop him, they stop the Vikings, but maybe Bridgewater will change that just a little bit. So,
is there anybody else? Anybody? You got like a, do you have Golden Tate on your team?
He only has 4 bench spots.
Oh God, what a terrible setup.
I did tell that in the message. I was like, I would hate playing in this league.
That's painful.
That would be terrible. So we got one more for you. This one comes from Robert. Lots of terrible quarterbacks to pick from here. We got Jake Locker at Indy, Eli Manning at Washington, Geno Smith versus Detroit, EJ Manuel, who's playing pretty well, at Houston, and Bortles, first start at San Diego.
Clearly Dustin wants me to lean towards EJ, but I'm not going to do that.
He's been pretty good.
He has been pretty good, but I'm going to go with Eli Manning. We all saw what happened in the Philadelphia shootout. I know it's a Thursday night game. That's the only thing that scares me is Thursday night games seem to be historically lower scoring or a little bit ugly, a.k.a. what happened to the Bucs. Obviously it wasn't low scoring for the Falcons. With that said, I'm still going Eli. He's put together 2 decent games back-to-back. The Redskins secondary is awful. I think this is actually going to be one of the more enjoyable Thursday night games that we've seen in a long time. I think it is going to be high scoring. So I'm going to go with Eli. Not full confidence, but it ain't like you gave me a lot of good options here.
Let's get in those duds, sleepers, and deep sleepers. My dud's going to be Chris Ivory. He's getting a lot of talk right now as far as how the Jets need to feed him, how he's the better running back. And I agree with all that. He is the better running back. They do need to give him more touches, but he's got a tough matchup. I just don't want people to get so excited about him maybe getting 3 more touches and playing against Detroit. It's not an easy matchup for him, and it is still, you know, the Jets offense that has looked better, but still kind of up and down. So don't go crazy over him. My sleepers, Pittsburgh's D. I like them because they're at home against Tampa this week. Then they go on the road next week, but they got Jacksonville. So there's your defense for the next 2 weeks. I think Tampa, you know, maybe they'll be better this year or this week with the extended rest after the terrible Thursday night game, but they got Glennon going in there, and I think Pittsburgh's D is going to put a lot of pressure on him. My deep sleeper is going to be Brandon Oliver going up against Jacksonville. Brent's sleeper, I'm going to spoil it for him, is Donald Brown. I think the main reason Brown got so many touches last week is because they didn't have Oliver prepared for the game after Woodhead went down. I do think Brown will have a big game as well, but I think that team, San Diego, I think will get up, and I think Oliver's going to get in there. Really deep leagues, if you're really desperate, I'm starting him in a 14-team league where I have buys. That's the type of situation where you might start him.
All right, my bust is going to be Joik Bell versus the Jets. The Jets are actually fairly good against the run, and Joik was out. I mean, Bush out-touched Joik last week, and I think the way that you attack the Jets is on the edges, and that ain't what Bell does. Bell's the guy that runs in between the tackles, so I think we're going to see, again, a little bit more Reggie Bush. Again, in a bye week situation, he might not be necessarily a bench for you, but if you have other options, just maybe consider it, that's all. My sleeper, as Dustin alluded to, is Donald Brown. I love this guy this week. I have him ranked 7th overall in running backs. He ain't ever going to be there ever again for the rest of his entire career, but he is this week because he's playing Jacksonville. I think he gets a ton of touches. I'm saying 25 plus again. Falls into the end zone. It's Jacksonville. I think he's just going to have a monster week. And then my deep sleeper is going to be Deliaferio, which is not at all how you say his name, not in Italian, but I love him. He's a monster. I don't know why this guy's not going to be starting all the way through. Did you see what he did last week? He was trucking over people. He is a perfect complement to that new offense they're running, that quick zone blocking scheme. I love Deliaferio from now on. But deep leagues only because they're saying Pierce is going to start.
Yeah, it's pretty good voice you got there. Let's go into Mike's picks. I'm taking him back over this week after Brent tried to steal his picks from last week. His dud, Chris Johnson. Tough run matchup against the Lions, and he hasn't looked that good this year. His sleeper is going to be Teddy Bridgewater. He likes him because his floor isn't going to be that low because of what Bridgewater can do with his legs, so he could have a decent first game. And his deep sleeper is Allen Robinson. Jag should be playing from behind. Marquise Lee's banged up. Robinson was targeted a decent amount last week, was out on the field a decent amount. He's liking him week 4. So that'll do it. Namco over here, Dustin right here.
Don't pet flip.
Get in the form. Terrible. That was terrible. That one hit you in the head.